Welcome to the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of the vikingage.com. We do this every Monday and Thursday night right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. My name is Schad. I write for the Viking Age as well as Zone Coverage, Bring Me the News, and the Brookings Register. My co-host is Adam Patrick. He is the managing editor of the Viking Age. We do this every Monday and Thursday, like I had mentioned, but if you tend to miss us, we're on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, rate, comment, like, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode. Like I always miss what to say during the introduction. Adam, let's start here. Well, first of all, football is back apparently. I don't know if you've been online at all and seen Twitter, but it's been ablaze all day because the Hall of Fame game
What'd you call
tonight.
it?
Football.
No,
that's what they say.
Twitter. What's that?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna be like the people. I mentioned this last episode, but like I'm gonna be like the old people who refuse to call the Cleveland Guardians the Guardians. Like I remember Chief Wahoo. I'm like,
I haven't updated the app on my phone yet, so I still have the blue.
You still
Twitter
got the
app
bird
on my phone.
Yeah. I'm surprised it still works. Honestly, the X people or whatever haven't kicked down the door to your house, just like update your app. No, I prefer not to, but all sorts of stuff. Like now they're doing like the repost thing, and like I'm kind of sitting here just like, am I on Threads or Twitter? Like which one is that? But like I was saying, tonight is the Hall of Fame game between the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets, an elite matchup. Especially at quarterback, which a couple years ago, I think after the draft, some people were thinking Kellen Mond and Zach Wilson on Monday Night Football. No, we're not. We're actually watching that as part of a preseason game. And before I went on the air, I decided to do a little scrolling. This is a list of Browns who will not play tonight. Let's check it out. Greg Newsome, Juan Thornhill, Amari Cooper, Deshaun Watson, Anthony Walker Jr., Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Elijah Moore, Jakeem Grant, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Mike Woods II, Joshua Dobbs, Jalen Darden, Marquise Goodwin, Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, Martin Emerson Jr., Nick Chubb, Rodney McLeod, Mike Ford Jr., Jerome Ford, Matthew Adams, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that name. Jacob Phillips, Ogwo, or oh my God. I'm reading this on the fly, so I would have like prepared, but Ogbo Okoronkwo, he's a defensive end. So I totally botched that. I'm sorry. Ethan Pochik, Jared Wills Jr., Joel Batonio, Wyatt Teller, Jack Cotlin, Tyron Wheatley Jr., Jordan Atkins, David Njoku, Harrison Bryant, Dalvin Thomason, Miles Garrett, Tristan Hale, and old friend Zadarius Smith. Football is back.
Yeah, there's two former offensive coordinators on the Browns staff. We obviously know one, Kevin Stefanski. Do you know the other one who is on his staff?
Mike Prefer.
Nope, he got fired.
He got fired.
He had an infamous play calling card when he was with the Vikings.
Is that Musgrave?
Yeah, he's on the Browns staff.
Really?
He's a senior offensive assistant or whatever.
Well, it's going to be run Chubb left, run Chubb right, Chubb, run Chubb up the middle. This show got dirty.
Yeah, I feel like he's the only Vikings offensive coordinator who used Cordell Patterson properly.
Yeah. It's like, why don't we just put the ball in his hands? No, he's got to run. He's got to run the X route and the bang 8 or whatever Norv Turner called it, or whatever that hot garbage was. Let's talk about some current Vikings coaches to start off with, because Kevin O'Connell had an interview with KFAN's Dan Barrero, and he was asked kind of about, what's it like outside of the building? How do you kind of cope with it? Do you take time off? That sort of thing. And KOC said this: I'll tell you this. It was during the offseason Saturday. The honeydew list came out. I went to Home Depot in a matter of about 20 minutes there. I'm not very familiar with the store's layout. I got 2 things in 20 minutes trying to find everything. I can relate.
Home Depot's, it can be overwhelming to find something.
Even like I used to work at Menards, And like that, I mean, I would get annoyed all the time when people worked just because I was getting paid like $10 an hour or whatever it was. But yeah, I totally get it. But he said in the process, I had 3 or 4 folks come up to me, just shake my hand and say, "Before I die, coach," assuming that meant a Super Bowl. O'Connell continued, some of these folks are a little older. So I was saying to myself, we better get back to work, Caden, because I don't think we have much time. And there were some young folks, and I say, hey, I just hope you guys understand how much of an honor it is for me to be the coach of this football team. And then we got Cheryl. She is the receptionist in the front lobby. We couldn't do this without her. And then down in the parking garage, we have Jerome. Literally couldn't get in the building without him. Actually, he didn't say that part. But my first question is, if you ran into Kevin O'Connell at Home Depot or just in the wild, so to speak, what would you say to him?
Oh, wow. First I'd say go Padres because he's from San Diego.
Yeah. Would you tell him go Aztecs though? Because he's from SDS. Well, the other SDSU. I gotta be careful in my position here.
I guess, but I know he's in Minnesota and has to be with the Twins, but he threw out the Padres first pitch too, so he's a Padres fan. I would just I would say I don't even know what I would say really, because I don't want to put like the burden of the whole franchise on this one guy. Like he's been there for a year. Like you have to do this. You have to save us. Like no, just do the best you can and don't cut corners. Just do what you think is best for the franchise, and if that works, fine. If not, then oh well. Just give it your best and try, and that's all you can do. Like it sounds cheesy or cliche, but like
sounds like you're like talking like coaching a little league team.
Right.
Try your best, kids. Eat your vitamins, say your prayers, and drink your milk, and maybe you too can win the Super Bowl.
But that's what I want. I'd rather him go out trying to do his own thing than like going out with players getting suspended for having a party on a boat or something, or scalping tickets or something like that. It seems like he's generated a good locker room in there with good culture, good buzzword there. But I don't. I mean, and I don't know. It's tough to say what you would want to say I think I would have a conversation with him, just like what vision he has for the team, because it's only been there for a year, and I don't think he and Kwesi had too much control over what exactly they wanted to do in the first year. It seems like they have a little more freedom the second year. So I'm just curious to do you want to move forward with Kirk Cousins? Do you, why did you?
At which point he'd be like, I'm really trying to find a plunger here.
Gotta get out of here.
My toilet is overflowing, and just all this stuff right now.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd have a long drawn out conversation with him, just because I know a lot of people who go to like the home improvement stores and that type of stuff don't want to spend too much time in the home improvement stores.
I also wouldn't be at Home Depot, so I would never run into.
So you'd be like at a concert, just like
if I have
you would be the guy in that meme where he's like talking to the hot chick and like screaming in her ear, and just she looks completely uninterested, just trying to have a couple.
If I need to get something from Home Depot, I order it ahead of time and pick it up. I don't want to waste my time going looking for it in the store. So
that is brilliant. You could tell sometimes walking around in Menards who had been there for a couple hours, like people in the appliances department, they're just like, oh my God, yeah. Do we really need to decide the color of trim inside the oven? Like just order the damn oven. I can't handle this anymore. I've had enough. The only time that I ran into a celebrity in the wild is when I was working at Menards, actually. Sid Hartman came over and he was trying to get a patio set, and he wanted this table. And like a lot of people, like I noticed there are a lot of like psychos who like go from Menards to Menards trying to get their patio table or whatever. So like I'm just walking around and there's Sid, and I get it in his situation because
Did
he's
he have his little
probably like
microphone with him?
living. No. He looked very angry actually because he just
That's how he
wanted the
always-
damn table.
That's
I
how he
mean,
always
that's him. That was
Yeah.
him. But I was like, oh, holy shit. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything just because like it depends. Like when to approach somebody. Like if you're out at a bar, hey, want a beer? Like I would never like because I'm sure in like those situations they're just like living their everyday lives and everything else. But I just thought it was interesting that a whole bunch of people went up to Kevin O'Connell and was just like, before I die, like I'm envisioning like Friday Night Lights stuff. Like you watch that show, right? Where like what was the booster guy's name that was just shady as fuck? And like he built like a US Bank Stadium Jumbotron at I can't even think of the name.
I have no idea. I never watched the show.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. That's all you need to know. They just say that a lot throughout the show. Let's talk about the Vikings, the actual Vikings, because they turned around and they hosted Dalton Risner for a visit. Now, if you don't know who Dalton Risner is, he is a second-round pick in the 2019 NFL draft by the Denver Broncos. He's a 28-year-old who has played 4 seasons at left guard. Posted a pass blocking grade above 69 in all 4 seasons. Nice. And somehow he's still a free agent. Kevin O'Connell basically confirmed the visit by telling the media what a visit is. Like, well, it's when you have interest in a guy and the guy comes in and you visit and you show him around and then you have these conversations. Yeah, he basically mansplained a visit. He stopped short of like talking about how he'd meet Dennis, the equipment manager. We'd be out there naked without him. And then we got Florence, the Italian janitor. The toilets have never been cleaner. I mean, if you've ever been in a bad toilet, and trust me, I've been in some airports, it can be a really tricky situation, especially when you're trying to get out at halftime. Anyway, O'Connell also mentioned that his predominant history has been on that left side. That's one of the reasons why you bring a player in on a visit to have those conversations. We feel comfortable about his answer to that question. So this is my Brian Windhorst voice. Why would the Vikings do that? Are they worried about the offensive line or what's going on here?
I'm not so sure yet, but Chris Reed's been hurt, and then I think they just released someone with like a non-football illness or injury. So there's 2 guys that are down. I'm sure some of them were banged up after training camp. And they just signed 2 depth guys.
Christian DeLauro and Jared Williams signed today. Yes.
I think they've played a combined 15 snaps in their NFL career, and they're both undrafted. So they're basically camp bodies. So my feeling with after those signings is that they just need more people for camp. I think they might have brought Dalton Risner in, tomato, in to see if he was willing to come in and maybe upgrade their depth and then maybe compete for a starting spot, not be given a starting spot, but just compete. And I don't think the Vikings were willing to just bring him in and immediately make him a starter in August. I don't know how smart that would be to begin with, whether he's better than Ed Ingram or Ezra Cleveland anyways. But yeah, the Risner thing, like him not signing anything, that makes me believe that he probably wanted to land with a team that he would have a better opportunity to start and a more guaranteed opportunity to start, because he started every game in his career in his 4 years in the NFL. He started every single game that he's been on the field. So it would be weird for him to go in year 5. It's not like he's an old vet in year 5 to go from starting every game to, hey, you're backup. So I think that was part of the problem. I think the Vikings are just exploring their options. He was out there. They have a connection with him, with their offensive line coach and their assistant offensive line coach. So yeah, I'm not worried about it. I like the checking in and seeing if there's always a way to improve your team, especially the offensive line, even though some people have rated their offensive line like top 10 unit before the season starts, which is like, how bad is everyone else?
Did you watch? There are a lot of people who just watched Red Zone and the playoff game against
Did
the
they
Giants.
watch quarterback where Kirk Cousins was the most hit quarterback in the NFL?
Where he's getting his ribs bashed in on every play. Yeah. Like
So
it kind of came out of the blue for me, I think.
Oh yeah.
Because it like we didn't like normally by this point of camp, we would have heard, oh, Garrett Bradbury is getting tossed with the wind out there. Like there was a stiff breeze and he went back 20 yards. Like we haven't heard any of that. So like when they started talking about Risner, I was just kind of like, why would they do that? Not even like a Windhorse thing, just like that's weird. And the fact that they had a conversation about left or right, like I don't know. I haven't heard anything as far as, you know, the offensive lines getting tossed around, like any of that stuff. And the other thing that O'Connell mentioned outside of his Home Depot adventures in that Barrero interview was that he likes the continuity in the offensive line. Like he mentioned that injuries weren't an excuse, but like mixing those things up and shuffling them all around, even in a course of the game, just creates a big pain in the ass. Basically, he talked about the Dallas game when Christian Darrisaw worked hard to get back into the lineup coming off a concussion. He was out in a couple of plays, and you know, he said he learned a lot that day about being a head coach. Just a lot of things here, and I think after signing the two bodies, it's about depth, and it might even be just planting a seed for later in the season. Because what if Cleveland or Ed Ingram break something? Like they break their leg or something. Probably giving Dalton Risner a call, especially if it's early in the season, right? I don't know. I do like the due diligence. It kind of raises some alarms for me as far as the offensive line, because I don't think the Vikings really didn't do anything with this group over the offseason. And they just kind of said, we're going to run it back. And everybody's like, oh, are you sure about that? Like,
and I don't think
about this group.
Yeah, I don't think enough people are talking about Brian O'Neill. Like he's coming off an Achilles injury, and everyone's just assuming like he's going to be back to normal himself, which he could be. But like, there's also that chance that he either gets hurt again or he's, you know, not as good as he was because maybe he's a little concerned about his injury or something changed in his ability to do something. Like everyone's just assuming he's going to be back to normal, and the Vikings fan pessimist in me is like, I'm not so sure about that. So like that's a little concern I still have that maybe not everyone has. But and obviously the interior offensive line, Darrisaw, you worry about the concussions, but I think he's using a different helmet now. So maybe there's some hope that will help. But yeah, like I saw, I think it was who was the guy that rated them like 8th in the league? He's on the 33rd team. Oh, Ross Tucker. He rated the Vikings
very weird, but yeah,
8th best offensive line in the NFL going into the season. And I'm like, you're a former offensive lineman.
If you look at the tackles,
that's exactly why he did it. That's what he said.
I think that's the most important thing. Like if you got two solid bookend tackles, in a perfect world, you could just throw whoever you want in the center of that offensive line. The problem is the Vikings haven't figured that out. Garrett Bradbury always leads the league in pressures, and he would have last year if he didn't hurt his back. Ezra Cleveland got absolutely dominated by, what was it, Jonathan, or was it Deron Payne or Jonathan Allen? Whoever it was, he got his ass whipped in Washington. Yeah, but they tag teamed him basically. Just, you know.
And they knocked Kirk Cousins out, yeah.
And then there was Ed Ingram who
stepped on Kirk Cousins' foot like 7 times.
But I'm also, I don't know why. I'm irrationally positive about Ed Ingram because I think he played better as the season went along.
Yeah.
And there's a foundation there. Like unlike Cleveland, Ingram has played guard throughout his career, so there's no learning curve there. He's pretty good in run blocking. So if he could just be average as a pass blocker, I think the Vikings could have a solution at least at right guard. Cleveland, I mean, there was that report at the end of last season from Chris Thomason that said Ezra Cleveland is interested in an extension, and the Vikings never called him back apparently because the deal didn't get done.
I'm interested in an extension too.
I would love to be locked in for $17 million, guys. We'll call you back.
This just I love to play for the Vikings for life. Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
See you later next year.
That's
I do
great.
agree with you with Ed Ingram though. He gets a instead of last year where he was a rookie and he had to do all the pre-draft stuff, rookie camp, all that stuff, learning the new playbook and everything. He gets to come in the same offense. He gets the full off season with the Vikings, strength training and all that stuff. So I would agree that he has a good chance to be much better than he was last year. I mean, you can't be much worse. So
No, I mean the floor, the bar is low.
yeah.
And if he doesn't clear the bar this year, then you gotta look for
And
something.
if I remember correctly, Ezra Cleveland kind of made some steps in the right direction in his second year, where the first year when he was a rookie and he was playing, he was kind of similar to Ed Ingram, and then he was able to improve slightly in his second year with the Vikings. So maybe that can happen with Ed Ingram, hopefully.
Well, let's stay with that 2022 draft class because things aren't exactly going well. Andrew Booth Jr., he's hurt again. The guy who hasn't been healthy since high school. He got hurt again. That, I don't know. Just things. Honestly, so Booth did not practice on Wednesday due to an undisclosed injury that he suffered on Tuesday. Wednesday was also it was a very light walkthrough because they're having the night practice tonight with the TCO. I don't know. I always remember. So this is kind of a side note, but I remember one of the first years they did Hard Knocks. They did it in River Falls for Chiefs camp, and I think Gunther Cunningham, if that's his name.
Well, I think Herm Edwards was the coach.
No, Todd Haley was the coach.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember Todd Haley being there. Herm Edwards was there. I think maybe the first year or two, but I think, or maybe he was the head coach when they did Herm Edwards.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe they changed coaches.
Because Haley was after Edwards.
Haley
had Matt Castle and stuff.
Gunther Cunningham had some role on the staff. I think he was the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And it was family fun night. And there is a clip in that series of Hard Knocks where he's like, fucking family fun night. I fucking hate this shit. Just grumbling around. There's kids yelling and screaming. And he just, oh, fucking kids. That's exactly what I think of when I think of these night practices.
Like a football coach.
Yeah. Booth has not taken any first team reps in training camp, according to Judd Zolgad of Score North and the Vikings Wire. The Vikings have apparently run with some combination of Byron Murphy, Caleb Evans, and Juwan Williams in nickel set. So I asked you about the offensive line. How concerned are you about Andrew Booth Jr.?
Oh, way more concerned about him than I am the offensive line, which is weird to say. But I think Mekhi Blackman's gotten first team reps too, even just for a little bit, they threw him in there to give him some snaps. So Andrew Booth is not good. He came in, he fell in the draft because of his injury history. And the Vikings are finding out why. He got hurt last year, didn't play. He missed a handful of games, and so far in training camp, he's hurt again. I sometimes guys just. It's what happens. They can't stay healthy. Whatever they do, maybe he's got to figure something out, do Pilates or something, have a different diet or whatever. Because whatever
he's Kirk's body guy.
Yeah, whatever he's doing right now,
sharpshooter or whatever, until he stretches out. I don't think that's what they do, but
Boston crap.
What is Bret Hart doing here? I thought you said it was a body guy. Oh yeah, you're about to get stretched, pal.
It's literally Jesse the Body. Ventura is his body guy. Yeah, he's got to figure something else because whatever he's doing right now is it's not working. And it sucks because it seems like he has a lot of talent, but he can't stay on the field, and that's very important in your job in the NFL and in any sport to stay on the field or on the court or the ice or whatever. So yeah, I'm concerned. I'm less concerned because he hasn't been getting first team reps. So obviously they've already been trying to figure out other people getting those reps. It seems like a Caleb Evans and Byron Murphy Jr. kind of have those top two slots locked down right now, with Juwan Williams kind of mixing in there too, and maybe Mekhi Blackman will kind of sprout up there towards the end. Because we still got a bunch of preseason games to go, and that could change things maybe. But Yeah, it's disappointing because he was a second round pick, and it's like because Lewis Cine seems like he's doing much better this year. And we just talked about Ed Ingram and his chances to be better. So yeah, Andrew Booth. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but it's kind of getting annoying, I guess. Already,
He's gonna get cut, man.
you
I
think
think
so?
he's gonna I think
You
he's
think
gonna
so?
get cut. I think he's gonna
Wow.
get cut because I mean everything we've seen from this guy so far screams bust. Like
Yeah.
I mean, so like go back to the night he was drafted. He sits down in that introductory press conference and like Matthew Collar mentions this all the time, how hard it is to bomb the introductory press conference. But when you say I haven't been healthy since high school, you
Yeah,
might
don't
as
say
well have
that.
just told him you had a dead body buried in the back or something
Yeah.
like that. Like that was, it's like yeah, you go to a job interview, like, what do you do on the weekends? Oh, I drink about 15 beers on a Saturday. Oh, let me tell you about that. Like, he gets injured during last year's camp. Surprise, surprise. When he gets on the field, he doesn't look good. That in sync move he had covering Stephon Diggs is burned into my brain. Where every little thing, whoa, Diggs is like 10 yards open downfield. That's a problem. Dak Prescott
He
took
got
his
benched
damn
for
soul the following week. Like, and now he's behind something called Twan Williams, who I'm sure he's got a little leg up because he knows this system. But I mean, things aren't going. And I think
not an all pro.
yeah. And I think I think that my positivity with Ed Ingram is tied to what we've seen from Lewis Cine and Andrew Booth, because this 2022 draft class doesn't look good. You mentioned Lewis Cine as improved, and that might be true. He's still on the second team. He's still playing behind Harrison Smith and Josh Metellus. Ed Ingram, he might be on track to get replaced now from what we've saw in the early weeks of camp. Andrew Booth Jr., we talked about, he's injured. Brian Asamoah,
I've heard good things about him.
He was really good for 4 weeks, but I mean, half the NFL in the final month of the season's on vacation already. So
I've heard he's at a good camp though.
And I have heard that too. Let's see what happens. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah. I'll say one thing. The 2023 class sounds like they're doing pretty good. So back on track.
Yeah, First year was but I was going to mention it. Caleb Evans had 3 concussions.
Right.
I mean, that's not great. And I guess we better hope Ty Chandler and Jalen Naylor do this stuff. And I mean, I think too, part of it might have been the scouting staff. Quasey didn't fire everybody when he got there. He just kind of was like, you've done the work. Let's just use what you have. Yep. And we found out what they had.
And Kevin O'Connell didn't really have, they didn't have enough time. They got there in February and the draft was in April. So they had to rely on that scouting staff, and that scouting staff was basically Rick Spielman's like handpicked guys, and they didn't really do that well the last few years. And that might have been
the guy from Nevada? Was that Carson Strong? Was that his name?
Quarterback?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because I remember he was like, there was like a big kind of to do about Rick going to see him. They probably looked at that and were like, yeah, we're not doing that. But Malik Willis responded really well to an overrated chance.
Oh yeah.
He
did great against take him. Powerhouse Syracuse during his career. Yeah.
Elite uniforms though. They're so good. The Broncos copied them.
Syracuse? Yeah.
Yeah, very elite. At least Brian Flores' defense looks good. Will Raggets noted that they were sending 5, 6, or 7 guys at the quarterback and a lot of pass plays.
Yes.
And those rushers would often get home. Say what you want about the guards there, but I digress. Flores also mentioned something about having it better to go forward than backward, which imagine that. You hyped about like what you've seen about Flores' defense so far?
Oh yeah, especially with Danielle Hunter being back. I know we've talked about in the past, like, they'll be okay, if Danielle Hunter, he gets traded or he signs somewhere else. It's really good that he's back. Because that's just a whole nother element that you have now on your defense that, you weren't sure you were going to have. And you can use him in a variety of different ways, and I'm sure Brian Flores will. It's nice to hear that they have more than one blitzer coming at a time. They have sometimes 2 or 3.
There's waves of it coming at you just
And
all the time.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of week 1 inside US Bank Stadium. Baker Mayfield is the Bucs quarterback. You think he's going to do awesome with 7 guys coming at him at once when he can't hear anything? No, it's going to be great. So yeah, I'm just excited for a defense to, they're going to give up big plays, and pretty much every defense in the NFL does, even like the Niners and stuff. But they were not fun to watch last year. We had the whole Zimmer era where, like, at least the first couple of years, it was fun to watch the defense. Like, it was fun to see Anthony Barr and Harrison Smith like just light up the quarterback. And I'm just looking forward to seeing that again. That aggression, creates turnovers, gets hits. And it sounds like it's good for the Vikings offense in practice because they keep talking. You hear Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins being like, this is the one thing that's like thrown us all off in camp. Like, we know the offense and everything, but like going against this defense, it's like, whoa. Like, there's changes everywhere. They're flipping things all over the place. But they both said like, this is good because I think Kirk Cousins said his quarterback's coach had to remind him, hey, we're not playing Brian Flores' defense in the season. So, because he was like trying to like figure out how we beat him. And he's like, don't worry about it. Just fight.
We have to win practice.
Yeah. But like, it's good for them because they'll go into a game against another defense that's, not as aggressive, or, doesn't run as many formation variations and things like that. And it'll be much easier for them because they've gone against a defense that's basically probably one of the hardest schemes to go against in all of football. So I think it's going to benefit the Vikings in a lot of ways, and that's exciting.
Yeah, and as someone who was at the Giants playoff game,
Dean Pease.
I want to see what's that?
Dean Pease, known for his aggressive defensive scheme. That's the guy's name, right? The defensive coordinator. Oh, why did I say Dean Pease?
He's retired.
He was with the Ravens too,
and he was with the Titans.
I think they were both with the Ravens at one point, so that's why I confused the two. But yes, Wink Martindale, who wears like Under Armour under his sleeveless sweatshirt, which I'm like, why is it sleeveless?
Wears Under Armour under his Under Armour.
Yeah.
Then he is truly invincible and can just, maybe that's it. It's just like, if I feel invincible, I will call.
His name's Wink
whenever I feel like it.
Could he have done anything else besides be a football coach when your name is Wink? Like, you can't.
What about a game show host?
You can't. Well, yeah, I guess you can't be like a grocery store manager when your name's Wink. I don't think you can do that.
There is a shop in Brookings. It's Wink's Fine Jewelry. So apparently,
there you go.
Apparently, you can own a jewelry store in Brookings.
Winks.
If you wanted to.
How do you even get
Wink? I don't know. Well, actually, he got that name because the hospital was like, "What would you like to name your kid?" And they're like, "Wink." And he's like, "Okay." Anyway, everybody loves Kirk Cousins, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Coming into camp, a lot of people have believed Kirk broke out of his shell. He was one of the most intriguing subjects during the quarterback documentary. He was ranked 42nd on NFL's top 100 players list, which I mean,
it matters now because he's on it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, funny, right? We haven't talked about those because I don't care. I know Kirk could be number one, and I'd be like, all right, whatever. Because you know what some of those players do when they vote, just like,
oh yeah, I like him.
Yep.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins.
Yep. I mean, I guarantee you, Cameron Jordan didn't vote Kirk Cousins for the top 100. No.
He's higher than him though.
Yeah, he is higher than Cameron Jordan. Yeah, it's just it's whatever. I mean, I'm sure it's a bragging rights thing among players sometimes, but
yeah, well, it's just funny because people were complaining like that Justin Fields was ranked higher than Trevor Lawrence, and then they're all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, Kirk Cousins is number 42. Look at that. He's getting respect." I'm like, "Oh, hold on. Which one is it?" Because they're either terribly wrong about Justin Fields or they're absolutely right about Kirk Cousins. You can't. And they also have, I believe, they also have Eric Kendricks rated ahead of Harrison Smith. Which, if you watch Vikings football at all last year, Eric Kendricks should be nowhere near the top 100 list.
He should be about 5 yards behind.
Yeah. And
Whoever.
Hawkinson didn't even make it.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Okay.
I don't know. But Kirk's out here. He's giving thoughtful, charismatic answers during training camp. He wore number 66 to practice the other day.
Yeah.
Eric Thompson of the Daily Norseman mentioned that he probably said, just getting my kicks in. But some people also thought it was like a signal to the front office for Dalton Risner, which Kirk ain't doing that.
No.
It would have been freaking awesome. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, Kirk Cousins isn't doing that. Lindsey Young of Vikings.com actually reported that he was just trolling Ryan Wright. His Wright wore 66 in camp, and he wanted to motivate the guys who are fringe players. Also, acknowledge me for not. Yes, just kicking bombs in 66.
Yeah.
He kicks for 66. Wow, that could have been missed marketing opportunity. But here's the thing that kind of got me, and this is why I wanted to talk about Kirk, even though there's nothing really going on with Kirk right now. Kirk gave a riveting presentation to his teammates during training camp. And this was from Sam Weich of NFL Network, who said, the people who told me about this said it was absolutely riveting. The fact that Kirk Cousins is one of the oldest guys on the team and was touching guys who came into the league with this message, where they were like, this is our leader. This is a righteous guy that we want to get behind. Reportedly, Cousins brought up the scene in quarterback where Nick Mullins suggested recording the play calls on his phone to help him memorize the offense. Cousins mentioned that because Mullins didn't have to do that and could have just been envious of the starter and been like, bleep you. I do wonder what Sean Mannion would have suggested in that role. Just like,
hey, have you heard this band Nirvana? You can check them out.
They're freaking awesome, bro. Jesus. But here's the thing that gets me. This is okay, whatever. He's doing speeches, whatever. This isn't the first time this has happened. Let's go back a year ago. Let's go back to the months after Mike Zimmer was gone. It had like Mario beating Bowser and the Mushroom Kingdoms all together again vibes, right? The mean old guy is gone. Kirk Cousins called his teammates together and he delivered a similar speech. Now, how do I know this? Because Ben Lieber said so on the Unrestricted podcast, where he said there was a meeting. All of the biggest names on the team were at this meeting, and Kirk blew everybody away and how he handled things that were said. Apparently, a couple of guys walked out of the meeting and said, Kirk's our dog. Kirk's our freaking dog. Apparently, Kirk came in very prepared for this meeting. Apparently, he had been taking notes all season long and laid it out. Apparently, I guess the guys were like, damn, this is a guy that we can ride with that's going to have our backs at all time. Apparently, this is another riveting presentation. Apparently, what do you make about Kirk's riveting presentation?
I like that he's, being a vocal leader because his dad told him he needed to do that in high school, in his note to him. So he's finally being able to do that. I'm always a little weary of stuff that Kirk Cousins is doing right now this year, particularly because it's a contract year. Not to take it away from him or anything, but he's doing a lot of things to make sure that not only the Vikings know that he's, committing to making the team better, but that he's committed to prolonging his career into the future. So he will be ready and available. If he's not with the Vikings next year, he will be ready to go for another team. And he's showing and he's doing these things to be a leader and show that he can be a leader with another team. That being said, it's good that he is doing this. If last year was the first time, it's about damn time. He was there in 2018. I know it's hard to come into a situation where you're kind of like the Vikings kind of had like a core group already when he came into it. He kind of probably felt like he was the new kid, like on the outside, and he's been there for a while now. So it kind of feels like he probably feels more like it's his team. And I'm sure Kevin O'Connell was like, dude, you've been here for a while. This is your team. You're the quarterback. So like, and this isn't the first time either. Like guys in the past have always said how like Kirk Cousins is a good leader and everything. And, sometimes he may not be the best leader in terms of like emotions and stuff, but he leads with his play, and then he does stuff like this in the locker room. I think they asked Justin Jefferson about it, and he said immediately, yesterday, like, because he's a leader. He's going to lead us. He's going to show us to what we have to do and what not to do. So, yeah, it's good. Like, there's no downside of it.
No,
but yeah, it's it's just so funny when like reporters like that come out with like specific quotes of like it was absolutely riveting. I'm like, who said that? What player on that roster said it was absolutely?
Was it Ben Lever?
Yeah, was it Kirk Cousins? And also the thing with like Nick Mullins like not having to give him the advice to do on his phone. I don't think nobody thought Nick Mullins was coming in for your job, Kirk.
Right.
Okay, like he wasn't there to be the starter. He knew that. This is like, yeah, but it's.
I just imagine
it's
like
good.
the opening scene of Step Brothers, like Nick Mullins is sitting there and like Kirk Cousins is sitting there. It's like, yeah, but you have to call me Dragon.
Yeah. But like it's good too though. Like it just shows more that Kirk feels comfortable, and I guess like maybe the more comfortable he can feel, the less tense he will be in games and in tight situations. Until I see it to believe it, I'm still going to think he's going to still feel a little tense, especially in games against tougher teams or in the playoffs. But it's just a more progression of his relationship with Kevin O'Connell, who feels like he's kind of maybe instilled more confidence in the Kirk Cousins, which is a great quality of Kevin O'Connell's.
I think you mentioned exactly how I feel about this. I need to see it on the field. Yeah. I need to see it because for all of the good things that Kirk has done, and like you said, there's no downside to any of this. Like it is funny. You never hear like other quarterbacks get, you know what I mean? Like
shoot everyone out.
Everybody's just kind of like,
well, okay, whatever. Like you hear about that Dak stuff that's going on where the defense is talking trash to him?
No.
Yeah. Trayvon Diggs and all the defense are like getting in Dak's face and like talking trash to him. And people are like, you can't do that to your quarterback. And it was like, they're playing football. Who cares?
Patrick Starfish has some problems in Bikini Bottom. And by that, I mean
Patrick Mahomes
in Dallas.
He's talking trash to the other team. He's getting there. He's headbutting opponents. So like, there's many ways to go about it. But yeah,
that's what we need. We need Kirk to get like the the Cody Rhodes tattoo, but it's like a heart that says mom or something, just like on his neck. I'm out here putting my neck on the line, guy. He should get 66 tattooed on his neck. Yeah. Just like, remember Ryan Wright.
He'll be like, also, Mario Lemieux. You remember that guy? He played for the Penguins. He would just bring up random like old trivia because one other side note. Did you see I think Luke Braun tweeted the other day that Stacy's mom came on, and Kirk was like, "Hey guys, look, Stacy's mom is on." It's like you would be like that.
I would love to have one beer with Kirk Cousins, not 10 or 15. Actually, having 10 or 15, it might be. Do you remember the old Chappelle Show sketch with where he like hung out with Wayne Brady? Wayne Brady's like the nicest guy ever, and like he's shooting people and like doing drugs and like. I mean, I'm not gonna repeat it, but oh my god! No. Let's change course. Live YouTube. I need to see it from Kirk. I need to see it because there have been too many times where the offense kind of goes away. There are too many. I mean, like this is Kirk. This is the same thing we saw in quarterback. When it comes to preparation, there is nobody better than Kirk Cousins. Like even from a physical standpoint, between the ears, that's where he gets into problems. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with going to see like a sports therapist to get it sorted out. But I mean, at the same time, it's just like, 4th and 8, season on the line. He was able to do it in Buffalo and throw it to Justin Jefferson, but and then, I can hear some people already, but the offensive line and the defense and what was he's supposed to throw it beyond the line of scrimmage. Because if they don't get it beyond the line of scrimmage, the season is over. And that's exactly what happened. And the next thing you know, I slipped on some ice. I smoked my head on the pavement outside of US Bank Stadium. And
it's all Kirk's fault.
It's all Kirk's fault. That is what I'm saying. That is the theme of this. So we'll just see how it goes with Kirk this year.
Yeah, I'm curious. I think he's feeling good too. I think he's always wanted to be like, oh, I don't pay attention to like what's going on else. I think he's hearing maybe Julie's like being like, hey, I think they like you in the show. So I think like he's because every time I read something about quarterback, people are like, oh, Patrick Mahomes, like you see how good he is. Everyone's like, I'm a fan of Kirk Cousins now. And no one talks about Marcus Mariota because he was in there for like 2 episodes. But
he split as soon as he was benched. Like,
yeah.
My knee hurts, guys. Peace out. Oh, and I had a kid. Look at the kid.
Yeah, that might be my one critique of the show, that like they didn't really explore that, where it was like, oh, now you need surgery after you got benched. Like,
it was just very quick. Like, oh yeah, I needed surgery, and I was just like, hey, I did. Like, if he, and I'm not criticizing. I mean, he made his own decision, but I mean, if he, even if it's like, well, I had a kid, at that point, I just kind of wanted to get the operation, and it all happened at a good time. And I think he said that too. But
as much access as they provided the audience, there's definitely way more that they didn't show. So I'm sure there's some of that too. But did you hear Joe Burrow is going to be on the next season?
I did.
Yeah,
I'm very excited for that. I'm a big Joe Burrow guy.
I think Jordan Love might be on it too, because Peyton Manning was poking around in Packers camp the other day, and I would assume that has something to do with that. So,
God, if he train wrecks, that would be like,
oh, that would be great,
therapeutic.
Although I've heard
I'm still, I'm treading carefully, man.
I've heard he's having a good camp, which is training camp, but yeah, I think the Packers are. You still got to worry about them. I think so.
Yeah. Happier thoughts. SummerSlam Sunday. Or Saturday. You got any thoughts?
Yeah. I want Jay to win. May have been Jay Uso, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's too early to just end everything. But maybe they'll do a swerve and he'll win. But I don't know. I think something where Jimmy comes back and maybe turns on Jay and interferes. Maybe like, this should be me getting the title shot, not you, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So I could see something like that happening. I'm curious to see if maybe we have some returns, maybe like Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. He's got it. You're the one who
you can't see it.
You're the one who tipped me off that he had his theme song got a little update. So your voice.
I took that photo, by the way. It's not like a super loser. Yes, nice, I did. Nice. That was actually nice. It was a house show in Rochester, Minnesota, actually a couple years ago on Easter Sunday. Randy Orton was there, so then he did his thing.
Oh yeah,
with the spotlight shining down. I'm like, that's pretty cool, and I took a picture.
I don't like his theme song at all. I'm a big fan of his original RKO theme song with like the gold coming down. It was like, I think it was like, hey, nothing you can
burning my light. That's the name of that song.
I love that. The Legend Killer. Back in the day. What else is going on? Ricochet and Logan Paul. Heard that's kicking off the show because I think Logan Paul is trying to get his brother's fight, which is like at the same time in Dallas.
Yeah. Drew McIntyre against Gunther, whatever.
Yeah, I feel like Ricochet is gonna win that because I don't think Logan Paul doesn't really have to like go over. People are still gonna come to see him, so they don't really have to do that. It would benefit Ricochet more if he won than Logan Paul, but heel stuff happens too. Yeah, Gunther and Drew McIntyre. I think Gunther's gonna win because he's very close to the Honky Tonk Man's Intercontinental record. LA Knight in the Battle Royal. I think he's got to win that. Like,
that's it has to be. What are they doing? They have it.
Yeah, right. What are they doing? Like, I've heard the rumors of like people don't like him backstage and stuff, but like, and they're like, they think his popularity is gonna be short, but like, it's been going on for a while. It's not short at all. So I don't know. And then I don't think I'm interested in the Ronda and Shayna Baszler MMA rule. I don't even know what that is. Like, what are they? Are they fighting in a cage? What
Yeah. I'm a borderline MMA fan to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Are they
if I
choreographing a
see a good
fight?
match, that's cool. But like sometimes it's just like, and they're grappling again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then is there anything else? I can't think of.
The triple threat, Charlotte, Asuka, and
Oh, yeah.
Bianca.
And Cody and
Yeah.
Brock.
And Cody
course.
Brock 3.
think
No
Cody's
stipulation there.
I think Cody's gonna
But-
win that.
Yeah.
I think
SummerSlam, like it's always interesting to me. SummerSlam's always ass backwards. Like when I'm excited to watch it and stuff, it turns out to be a lousy show. When I'm kind of like low on it, like I am this year, like it turns out to be an awesome show. And
Oh,
the
it's gonna
thing-
be good. All the
yeah.
PLEs
I mean,
have been
Triple
good.
H's PLEs don't miss.
Right.
Like
It's gonna be good.
that's kind of it. I'm looking forward to it, and when I watch it, I'll probably be like, that was awesome. But
Yeah. Wasn't last year like the first? Wasn't last year like the first like time kind of Triple H had control over the PLEs, and SummerSlam was like the first thing, and then that was awesome.
The next thing we knew, Brock was driving a tractor to the ring.
Right. Right.
You're in charge now. I got this idea. Cool. Let's do it.
Side note on wrestling. I just watched the Dark Side of the Ring Bash at the Beach 2000. I had no idea about that. I had no idea that happened. Where Jeff Jarrett like laid down.
Oh yeah.
And Hulk Hogan stepped on him. I had no idea that happened.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan used his creative control card. And Jeff Jarrett was like, "Screw you." Yeah. And then that was the rise of Booker T.
I had no idea about that. Maybe because I didn't follow WCW when it was terrible at the end, but
yes. But let's close with this. What's going on over at the Viking Age?
Oh, we got lots of good stuff. We're reacting to training camp. We're looking at some of the players that are, kind of surprising so far. Some that are disappointing. I'm sure we'll have a 53-man prediction before the first preseason game, which I believe is next Thursday in Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. Got to do the annual trip to Seattle. The Vikings do. There's lots of stuff. Of course, we got the podcast, and then we're always doing some good stuff over there. So check that out, and I'm sure we'll have some bold predictions from a certain someone over there before the season.
We'll get rolling here as soon as we have a preseason game to talk about next week. I was just about to bring that up, but always an exciting time. 1 week to go, and we finally got preseason football. Enjoyed the Hall of Fame game for halfway through the first quarter or something. My mom actually texted me during the show. She said, let me look for it here. Oh, yeah. One time I want to go to the Hall of Fame game, and my luck, Mr. Cheesehead would be playing. I think she means Aaron Rodgers, even though he's not.
Right. Well, I remember
that team anymore, but
the Vikings were in the Hall of Fame game. And they played the Steelers 2015, and Diggs.
They were.
Diggs returned a punt. He almost returned it all the way, and I remember I think this guy's good because he was a 5th-round pick. So I'm like, I think this Diggs
turned out okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, good. It's good.
You never know. And then you have other guys like Kyle Sloter, preseason god, doesn't know the playbook.
Just got married, by the way. Shout out to Kyle Sloter.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Love is hard.
First ring he got.
Well, that's all the time we have for the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. We do this every Monday and Wednesday at 6:15 p.m. Central Time. You can catch us on Apple and Spotify the very next day, but however you listen, rate, comment, like, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode. For Adam Patrick, I'm Chris Schad. We'll talk to you next time on the Viking Age podcast.